Hey guys, and welcome back. We are here to do another engine build. You guys ready? I know we've been working on this a little bit. I had the parts video ready. We're at George's shop today. Just getting everything kind of set up. There's a lot of things to do. Got to put the case savers in. I'm going with 8mm studs, so no reason to go 10s. Always check with these aluminum cases, check the oil pump area. Put your oil pump in, make sure it doesn't just slide right in there. It should fit very nice and tight. If it just slides right in, then occasionally I've heard of this happening on these cases. The other thing you always check is this surface right here with the pulley, where the pulley goes in. Like I say, only run the... We got plenty of space in there for this slinger. I've heard people say that it's too tight there. And a lot of guys will only run the sand seal ones. I elect not to do that. I prefer having it not being sand sealed. So I just check them. If it's too tight, then, you know, I think I would just use a brake cone and just open it up a little bit that way. But so far so good. I think that they have improved the quality on these. So Autolinea, I think, has stepped up the game a little bit. Probably they knew about those issues. And I think that was early on in the problems that they had. So I've checked the fit here. If you did have one that was loose here and you needed to run that case, what I've heard of guys doing is actually putting a groove in here and putting an O-ring on this, and then you need to run it full flow. You cannot run a normal oiling system, which I wouldn't recommend anyway. On one of these cases, the whole reason to use one is to go full flow. The other thing you can do is you can use a 30mm pump. They have a 30 that has already got this plugged off. It doesn't even have a drill, this part drilled at all. They have those around, so you can use one of those. You will, if you do that, you're going to need to notch out the tin that goes on here because it's going to hit. So if you just notch out the tin for your full flow adapter, this guy right here, you notch the tin out. All I do is I have to grind that down a little bit, but it's no big thing. They'll notch out the tin so that this thing will poke through the tin, and then it usually won't hit the pulley, but you got to check all of that first. Another quick thing you can do if you go with a dish cam. I don't know, you guys can comment below who makes, if they make performance dish cams. Usually I've seen only flat ones, but they missed. I think they still do. They used to make performance dish cam, and you can use a dish cam, which this is a dish cam 26mm. You can see how small that is. It's about 4 or 5mm more in. So if you get a 30 dish cam with the hole blocked off, this hole right here will be blocked off, then, and you have a dish cam performance cam, like I said, I don't know about the cam sizes today. Maybe somebody can comment that below. I'm not sure. So like this is a dish cam, and this is a stock cam, or a flat cam. They're both, based on stock stuff. This is ground to a 100. That's what we're using. But I'm just showing you how much more space there is in a dish cam. So you got to have the right oil pump for the cam. If you got the dish cam one, you put it in a flat cam, it's going to hit for sure. You're going to have problems. So, make sure you got the right oil pump for what you're using. These case savers have a direction to them. This part goes in. If you notice, this part's tapered, goes on the outside, so make sure the right way. Well, you guys, I don't think he ever had a Volkswagen shop. No, never did. Look at that. This is from the old shop years ago. We were just going through here. I thought all this stuff got disappeared, but it's kind of cool to see it surviving. Bug pack, cylinder shims. Check this out. I wonder if he has the right size cylinder shim. Maybe. Couple here. Prep stuff, guys. Took all the plugs out of here. Blow everything out real good. Make sure there's no debris in those. Sometimes there is, so you got to take everything apart, blow it all apart, clean it. We've been cleaning parts here for a few hours. Taking apart everything, putting the K-savers in. Got new valve guides in the heads. The exhaust valve guides were just a little loose, so we went ahead and replaced them. Hitting them again in the sandblaster. The valves that were in these heads were beautiful, so we went ahead with these Brazilian. You know, you don't know what the quality of the ones are that we get now, but I mean, if we can use these, we'll go ahead and use the better ones since they were what's in the head, and we know that they're good. So I'm going to go ahead and red Loctite these in since I'm putting them in and I'm never going to take them back out. So I got all these plugs back in. I red Loctite those guys in there. I don't want them coming out, that's for sure. All done. And I'm just going to run through and prep these rod bearings. There's a little bit of Scotch-Brite just to wipe that out. Those little grooves kind of hold the oil. Let me just wipe them once here. We do have a set of bearings that have the coating on them that's supposed to stay on them. This stuff, yeah, I don't think we're supposed to.
Mike. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It was just my practice and our practice, and nobody, you know, they don't have to do whatever they want to do.
You guys can do whatever you want, but
that's right.
That's right. Yeah, but we do have a set of bearings I can show you that have a coating on them that you're not supposed to take off. And it's are they the Chevy ones?
Yeah, I'll get them for you.
Let's take a look at them. I'll show you. These are coated bearings. This stuff isn't supposed to come off. These are, you pay extra for that, and typically they have a black on the back. The VW ones are not like this. Okay, these are actually going in a Volkswagen engine. These are the Chevy rod ones. Correct. Yeah, the Chevy rod size. So the Clevite, I think bearings come like this already. If you order them that way. They're the race ones. These you don't clean that stuff off. Okay. There's a difference. And that's maybe what people see on the forums. They say don't take that off. It's because it's this kind of bearing. This kind of bearing, you don't do that. I'm going to put all the bearings in the rods. Let's see if I can do this in front of the camera, right? I'm pushing, I'm not just holding it here with the middle. I'm pushing it in from the sides. Kind of hard to do on camera, but I push from this end. Not in the middle. All right, get them all together. I'll show you later. All right, so we actually checked the bore of the rods assembled, and then checked the rods, the rod journals, and matched up everything by the 10th. And then found out that this one here, just, you know, we're talking about minor stuff to do. Some guys, what they do is they'll actually assemble the rod on the crankshaft dry and just rotate it around and feel which one is, you know, the looser one and the tighter one, and just go by feel. So a lot of people think you can't do that, but you can if you don't have the tools. Some people use a plastic gauge and they go in there and check, you know, the distance in there and make sure that it's within spec. And we've done it with the bore gauge, I guess, and then with a micrometer here, and made sure that we're within, I think it's 1.5 thousandths for the oil is what they, 1.5 to 2. It all depends on, some race builders will even build them looser than that. They'll put on like different, yeah, 2.5 thousandths of clearance to get more oil between there. So these are within spec, let's put it that way. And but we also do the additional thing where we're checking to see which one's the looser one or whatever, and we're going to put that one, like this one here, I numbered it 4, even though that's not number 4 general. I just put it here. The last one on the line is actually number 3. But I'm going to put that one here because it's the one that fits the best to that journal. So anyway, that's what we're doing. Just showing you some of that stuff. This is stuff that we do on all the engines, but you know, Anyway, some of it's off camera. All right, these are all done. The ARP grease and the whole 9 yards. Well, some of those things you run into that you just got to really check. These are high rev springs. And if you look there, like 10 thousandths bigger than the hole. So we're going to have to machine out these seats. These are all things you got to look at when we do stuff. They don't fit. So, got to make them fit. So we're going to go ahead and mark the bearings. Just mark them real quick. Just so we kind of get an idea where the dowel pin holes are. We'll mark on both sides.
I got it.
Alright. You found it?
Yeah, I found it.
Alright, looking for tools, guys. That's, you know, stuff got moved around. Go ahead and mark all these so we got them marked. Got them cleaned inside. Use that little bit of Scotch-Brite. Just give them a little wipe. Get the gray stuff off. All right, so these Autolineas have the dual thrust or the tang already machined for dual thrust bearings, so always get the dual thrust anyway whenever you're putting a performance cam in. All right, so we got a little bit of check our cam in play. Make sure it spins freely and just have something for the oil to get between the thrust bearing. Check both sides. See this one. That's a little tight. It's no good. There's no movement at all. So even though this is a lot of times you don't have to do this on these cams versus a brand new performance cam. A lot of times they're really tight between here. So this one here, we've got to give that one a little emery. It's just a little too tight. It should spin freely. I don't like that. All right, so we'll just take a little emery and clean that up. A little piece of sandpaper, flat surface. I'm only going to do this one because the other one's fine. They're not evenly machined, so I'll do that on some. This is a nice flat surface. Piece of glass works too. So now we're spinning good and much better. All right, little Earl. Make sure they spin. If they don't spin, you're gonna have a flat cam. Oh, it was the cam's fault. It was the lifters. No, you didn't check it. You gotta spin nice and easy all the way around. No loosey-gooseys, a little dot. You can use other stuff if you want too. This works fine though. Get those set. While we're resting, guess we could do the cam. A little dot. That's all it takes. A little dot and a smeary finger. And a Band-Aid. A lot of places you get cut on this thing. I guess we'll set that cam. Well, we'll wait to set the cam in afterwards. Get the crank in. And we're heating up the gears.
Sounds like a beat maybe.
Get them just right.
Does it go?
This side goes on the inside. Let's see if it's ready. Hot enough yet?
Nope.
Not quite.
Nope.
A little hotter. Well, let's see if we got it this time. We'll probably get it. As long as it's close enough. Yeah, it would be good. We use our pipe. We don't get it too hot. You don't have to get it that. You can get it hotter if you want to, but. See that pipe right there? That's done 1,000 engines, I think. And the spacer. I'll get that guy all the way on. I don't want to burn myself.
Like here. Okay.
There we go. I got it.
Okay.
You got the black pipe for that. Oh. And then the brass gear. Oh yeah, looks like we got that one just right, don't we? Yeah, we'll check it in a second with our washer. Or with the clip.
Yeah. Should do it.
Always know when you got it right is when you put this in here. And it goes straight. Does it? I'm not getting it all the way in, George.
Try your other clip then. I don't know. Try your other one.
See? It goes all the way in.
Yeah.
And it's straight up and down. You can see it doesn't, if it's don't go in the groove and then go straight, it's not all the way on. All right, so we're ready to go.
Try this clip. See
Try that one. That one's good too.
Yeah, I can see roll it too.
You can roll it, that's right.
See, it grabs it from your hand.
So the thrust washer and then this thing, you want to make sure you put that thing in straight and even because you're not doing that after you put the crank in. Plus this here, these go to the flywheel side, the offset and the dowel pin, just so you know. So you guys might ask yourselves, why do we sometimes we do this way, okay? Why are we putting this on the bench, putting the flywheel on with the bearing? Think about this for a second, guys. You can preset your in play, so you can kind of come up with a benchmark of what you think it's going to be before you put it together. So we've tightened up the flywheel on here, and then we got the bearing on, and what we came up with is we had to stack 2 feeler gauges together, and we came up with what is that? What was it? 47. So you take your 47. You don't want a tight 3, believe me. You don't ever want to go there. 4 to 5. So you take your 4 to 5 thousandths, subtract it, and that's about what your shims are going to need to be. Little trick there, guys. Didn't even think about that one before, probably, did you? All right, so we got the crank set in, of course. Put the center main. Check it, no wiggly poos. We're nice and tight. So that's set in.
Just real quick. That's it.
There we go. All right, so we got our marks in there. Now we've taken our cam and we got just a little, it's hard to hear because we got a little bit of oil on there, but you guys might not hear it. But there is a little bit of play in there, and that's what we need. And then the other thing you can do is rotate it around and see if the cam jumps out. It's hard to do on camera, but we can rotate it around. It's hard to do with this oil, you guys. So if the cam jumps out, and it's hard to. I'm pulling up on it when it does that. I don't want to pull my bearings out, but see if the cam jumps out. We can do that real quick. But if you hear there's a little bit of play, that's all you really need. If there's a lot, it'll make noise, and then you got to change the gear. So anyway. All right, real quick, guys, you can buy this stuff here too. Moto Seal. It's the same as I didn't even know they made it. if you glue this side, it's much easier than gluing this side around all the studs, just so you know. So anyway, let's put the case halves on. Line it up.
It's like any start metal work out, but you know, rule of thumb. I need a washer, I need one more nut.
I need a wrench.
You happy?
Right, you guys, this is why you mock up everything and check it. You know, this is part of the engine build, is you get sometimes some defective parts. And you need to kind of know what parts are defective and if you run into it. Right now they have a problem we know of that's happening because we talked to them, is the center main bearings from Silverline here are randomly bad. Okay, on the standard, they've had a few problems with this. So we got a second set of bearings, Molle, and people go, well, why don't you just use Molle in the beginning? Well, a lot of times we have good luck with these. These have been really pretty good, but this is kind of a recent thing that started happening, and they're getting, center mains are getting tight, and it's only on standard bearings as far as we know. And these sometimes are really hard to get standard. A lot of places they don't have them, or if they have them, they want a gold mine amount of money for them. I've seen them over $100 for a set of bearings. And, you know, I've seen them like $150 for a set of bearings some places. So we had the cam and everything in here. We thought, well, everything is cool. We checked it all, but, you know, of course, you don't know what the difference between this line bore, that one, and that one is until after you tighten it up. So we tightened it up, and let's take a look at what happens. So we run them down with the air ratchet. With that thing only goes to maybe 5 pounds at the most. That's why we use that particular air ratchet. George loves that one because it doesn't put any torque on anything, so it's really nice. It just tightens everything up a little bit. Okay. So even at 15 pounds, let's just try the center main. We haven't even done.
See, it's already.
As soon as we tighten the center main, it's locked up. Now we checked with a bore gauge inside here, right, so it's loose and it's centered. And that's the other thing, is if it's you know, on your crankshaft, there's on the edge of the crankshaft. On the new cranks, they have like a little bevel on the edges, a radius, and then the bearing is supposed to, you know, compensate for that. But so you have to check your bearing and make sure it's centered in there. So we did that, made sure it was centered, and made sure it wasn't hung up on the radius, because it'll do that sometimes. Not very often, because usually your thrust bearing is going to keep it from doing that, keep it centered. And so that wasn't the issue. We also measured the crankshaft. Every one of them was exactly the same, and they were perfect. They were not even a half of or a tenth of a thousandths apart. They were all exactly the same. So that was another thing you check. You need to check all these things, and whenever you have an issue, you need to be able to do that. So we're torquing them to 10 to see what happens there. You know, just to kind of know where's the cutoff. It still rotates at 10. As soon as you go to 15.
So we have it in play. Yeah. See, it's really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really good.
Yeah. So
now we're going to 15 on the center.
Let me go all the way around.
Do all the way around, because it could, you know, make it uneven. Locked up. So 2 sets of bearings, the same problem. Again, we checked this with a bore gauge. This one here is plus 0.002 over stock. This one's plus 0.001. And the last one is plus 0.0015 according to the bore gauge we use. So There's a little bit of variance. I mean, I don't know if that's an acceptable amount or not really, but again, this is being aluminum, might be a little bit looser standards than a regular magnesium would be, because maybe it doesn't move as much, so they want a little bit more, tolerance open there. But so the bores are, nothing, within 1,000ths of each other, and typically that won't be a problem. But what we don't know is it like this a little bit? We don't know that,
Like you said,
because you can't tell. There's no way. It's like a rattlesnake. It could be like that. People, I don't like those aluminum cases because they're always junk. And listen, any part, this could happen to anything you buy. You could buy a magnesium case. You could buy an aluminum case. When these things are working, they're great, but is there issues? Sure. Everything, again, even the Silverline bearings have had a run lately. And that's why you got to check everything. So anyway, all right, so we got another 78.4 that we had for another engine. And we're going to try the crank in here just to rule out the fact that it could be the crankshaft. I don't think it is, but let's find out. All right, guys. You guys were all wondering who ended up with the Westie. This is Andrew. Andrew saw this bus being built on YouTube, ran into time and money are always going to go together. He ran into the money he needed for it, and he decided that this was his. So Andrew's taking over on it. It's exciting. He just seems to fit right in with that bus, and they seem to be very happy together. The engine we're building right now is for this bus. So he said, I offered him to build a new engine, and there's nothing really wrong with the one that's in it. There's really nothing wrong with the engine that was in it, but I was thinking about it, and I said, you know what, he didn't really try and talk me down on the price or anything. He just thought it was a good deal for the price, and everybody that's looked at it said the same thing. They think it was worth every penny. And so I said, you know what, would you be interested in this? And so he said, heck yeah, I want a new engine for it too. So the engine build we're doing right now is actually for this bus. So we'll be seeing that get in here and drive it afterwards. Talk to you guys a little bit later. All right, guys, this is a few days later. We're back working on the engine. We've actually just reassembled this again because we went back and forth. We tried different crankshafts. We tried bearings, and we were measuring, a couple tenths over on the crank, and tenths. So it's really not much. And then but we found that the center main bearing on some of the Silverline sets. Now, you watch the time and date of this video. They have, as far as we know, resolved this, but there's still some of these bearings out there in circulation. So if you put one together, if you're going to do an engine, I'm going to tell you, take your crankshaft, just don't even put the rods on it, clean the journals, put the bearings on it, set it in your case. In fact, you should do this all the time, because just the parts, because you get one that might be 2/10 off here and 2/10 off there, and then you've got almost a 0.5 So, it might be tight. So put it in, put the oil on it, put it in place, check it, rotate the crankshaft around. A lot of guys will put in each individual rod on, feel them. If you don't have measuring equipment, you should be measuring everything in plastic gauge. You can do that if you want. But if you can feel that it doesn't have a tight spot and it has the correct amount of looseness, but side to side, it's, I think between 8 and 12 thousandths. I'm pretty sure, if I remember it was something like that. But look in your manual, and that's what you should be going by. But we know what it feels like when it's right. So we check them there. We check that there's no tight spots in the rods going around. Check the crankshaft going in. But there is an issue currently going on right now with these center main bearings. This was actually going on last year, And the newest ones that are out, they come through IAP, everything goes through IAP, but somebody might still have the older ones in stock that were having an issue with the center main. They're not admitting to the issue, okay? Nobody's admitting to this, but there's a lot of sets out there. So if you've got a set and you put it together and it won't spin, you've probably got an issue with the center main. Now it could be also, there's a little bit of issue with the crankshaft, with the cases. So, you know, being a little bit out here, you know, from one to another. If you saw that part of the video, we showed you that the case is a little bit out, but you know, it's too big. So would that cause that issue? Maybe, because, you know, we got like a half thou here, and it's a whole thousands between this one here and that one there. So then, you know, that might make it go in a little bit crooked. I don't know. But anyway, there is an issue with the bearings. We got that resolved. We're back working on it. We're going ahead and reassemble the crank, and we're going to keep moving forward here. Gotten to get better at that. A lot of practice.
It's running out of time. You know what the hell.
I guess these washers maybe.
Yeah.
We'll use those.
Do you want to put glue on them or no?
Oh yeah. Okay, here's for the magic. Supposed to do it to 18, then to 25. You know, I just do this a little bit. Still turning.
Huh?
Still turning. What's that?
You want to fit. Just because the wiggle jiggle. That one fits.
Okay. So she turned a handle on it, did you?
No, not yet.
Any tight spots in there?
I'm just doing it real lightly. Doesn't feel like it.
It feels good.
I mean, I can feel the red stuff, you know, but no tight spots.
No tight spots.
No.
Okay, good.
Good.
Okay. We're winning.
Okay, Charlie.
Okay, so I put glue on.
Charlie Harper.
We got glue here.
Winning.
We're gonna put a little bit of glue on.
Yeah, there's about 5, right? 5 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5, yep.
Okay.
Oh, it's really nice when they've got their specs a little better on these. It's nice and tight. I always check to make sure. It's going to tighten up a little bit more, but is plenty deep enough. 1/8 of an inch. A little oil. All right, just a little bit of oil on that gear. That's all it needs. It's enough to coat it when it rotates around once. That's it. Well, I should do this part, the shaft too. Forgot it.
You got the nuts, you're going to put those sealing washer nuts on it?
Yeah.
What a buy-in is from Pacific.
Here we go. Got the good stuff for this thing.
Is that a flange nut too?
Yeah, it's a flange nut.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah.
Super fancy. And we went with the good stuff. Everything gets torqued. So you gotta have the manual to remember all the torque specs. We put a little sealant on the threads because, you know, it could leak out of there.
Teflon.
So
Liquid
we're using
Teflon.
liquid Teflon. This stuff here, well, works pretty good. All right, so we checked the ring gap. Got the ring in here. Check the ring gap. It's perfect. Right out of the box. Beautiful. All right, a lot of times we trust these pulleys, you guys, and really you should check everything because this pulley is 4 degrees off probably. That's about what I'm seeing between there and there. See those 2 tape marks? What we do is put a bolt in our thing we were checking the deck height, put a bolt in there, okay? And then run it all the way, the engine all the way this direction till the piston hits the bolt. And then you go all the way, rotate it all the way around the other way until the piston hits the bolt. And when you do the one direction, you mark it with tape, and do the other direction and you mark that with tape. Then what you do is you measure the distance between this tape edge and that tape edge, okay? And the center of that is going to be top dead center. You guys agree? So you look here and this thing's that far off. So a lot of times when you check your deck height, you should do it both ways, you know, look at it and run it to top dead center. And you'll find a lot of times when you just use the mark on your pulley, it's going to be off. So with this engine and this crankshaft and everything else, you know, maybe I don't know what it is, if the keys in the little slightly different place or whatever, it's 4 degrees different. So really important to do that when you do your deck height, you know, same time. So, because you might do the deck height at this mark, at your old mark, and you're not really top dead center. So, you know, when you do your deck height, we also just go back and forth and rock it back and forth and make sure it's top dead center, because if you just go by the mark, it might be off. All right, talk to you later. We did find that this side, you know, a lot of people say that that's a full 5,000 step. It might be, but we found when we measured the deck height on this side versus the deck on that side, it was a 1,000ths different. Not enough to even think about worrying about, really. 1,000ths isn't going to make any difference on deck height. Super picky about everything.
Well, that's the first thing he's gonna look at, you know. Catching on every thread.
Okay, you guys, we got the cool tin on. Push rod tubes are nice and straight. Rockers. We're going to do our rocker geometry. We're going to show you a little bit about that. Just a couple things in a second here. All right, so we're going to set this sub flush. We already got the end play done. We're at solid 5. So sometimes some guys actually run it at 6 if you're running a race engine, but the specs are 3 to 5. 3, just stay away from that number. I'm gonna go ahead and push this down just a little bit more. Let me see. Okay. All right, guys. Anyway, I want to tell you guys that I'm going to be putting the rest of this together here at the shop, at the house. So I was looking at this AA tin, and you know, this stuff's actually not bad. All right, somebody was asking me how I did the valve geometry by eye, and I'm just going to kind of go over this. I mean, I've got the right tool to do it. My dial indicator on the vice scripts from Harbor Freight. They're not expensive, but one of the reasons I do it on a simple motor like this by eye is because usually I don't have to do anything at all. So I just check it, okay? And that's what I did on the bucket truck engine. So people were asking about that. What we have is we have stock push rod length in here. And it's because we're doing a 1904 with short rods. And what it does is that does not give you any shims to put in here. So I like to do those 1904s with short rods. It replicates the Porsche. In case somebody says short rods is too short. No, they're not too short. They're perfect length. The same that they put in, similar length to what they put in the Porsche. Not exactly the same, but very similar. So you go with the 74 crank, short rods, and generally your deck height comes out very close to the original. It's going to be, you know, within 30 thousandths or 50 thousandths or something like that of the original. You know, so it's not too far off, and that little bit of tolerance in there is figured in on, you know, most of your engines when you just build a stock 1600. So when you build a stock 1600 and you put a performance cam in it, a small performance cam, like you put it in a cheater cam or you put in a Engel 100 or something like that, it's not going to change your geometry that much. But you still always should check it. And that's what we're going to show you how to check it real quick in this video without using the dial indicator. And so we're going to go, oh, you got to use the dial indicator. No, it's not 100% necessary. Unless, the only time you're going to need to do something like that. Let's go over that stuff. The times when you're going to need to use the dial indicator or you're going to want to do a really detailed one is when you have a lot of lift and a lot of duration in your cam, because that's going to put more wear on your valve train. Or you have a erasure rocker situation. Almost always you're going to have some shims you're going to need to put in here to level that out. Another reason is if you go bigger, like if you go wider on your engine. So like with short rods, you can build up to a 74 or 78 with B pistons, and it comes out virtually the same. So 78 stroke with B pistons and short rods comes out almost stock width. But now when you start going bigger, you go to the 82, stuff like that, that's when you're going to run into, because you don't want too shorter rods on your 82 because you want to keep your rod ratios okay. The rod ratios okay, they're still decent on a 78 with the short rods, but when you start getting a bigger side, more stroke, you're going to want to go towards longer rods because you want your rod ratios to work better. So anyway, when you start getting into that, you're going to go to cut to fit push rods, and then you definitely need to do your valve geometry and check it really carefully and get it right, because you're running dual springs, you got a lot of tension on there, and you know, all that stuff will add up to valve train wear. So anyway, that's just the kind of general rule. It doesn't mean not to do it. It just means that you need to check it. It's not as important as it is when you get bigger, but it's still an important thing. So generally what I'll do is I'll put it to top dead center. I like to use number 1 because I know which one it is when it's, well, I'm on something else. It must be on a different stroke here. I'm gonna have to go one whole revolution around because I've already marked this already, just so you know. Okay, so I'm at top dead center, number 1. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate clockwise. It doesn't matter. We're going to use clockwise because that's the way the engine turns. We're going to rotate it around to the first, to the, I like to do just the exhaust valve. You can, usually the cams, unless you have a cam that has an exhaust and an intake, the lobe, most of them are the same, but then you need to check them both. But you go to here, keep going around. Up, it just saw it start to move. So I'm going to stop, back up right here where it doesn't move. And I know that's where it doesn't move because I've already marked it. So next thing I do is I'm going to take a piece of tape. You notice I got one jagged edge of tape and I got one straight edge. My straight edge is lined up with the case half to make it easier. So I do that. And then what I want to do is I want to find the bottom. So when this valve goes all the way down, it starts to come back up. That's when I want to stop again. So I'm going to go clockwise again. She's going down. And she's down. I just start to come back up. So back it up a little bit. Let's make it right where I know it's coming back up. Again, I'll do that while I'm looking at it real carefully and do it that way. I've even done this without the tape. Okay, I can kind of eye it. Once you get to kind of know where it's going to go, then you're going to kind of put it in the middle. Just what I do is just kind of run it around the stroke and I look at it and I say, okay, that's about the middle, that's about the bottom, and I watch it come back up and I kind of look at what we're going to look at in a minute when it's in the center. So that's all the way down. So what I do is, again, mark that with a straight edge of a piece of tape. All right, so we see our straight edge is on this side, and we straight edge is on that side. What do you think we're going to do next? We're going to put those things right in the middle. So we're going to go like that. And we're going to try and eyeball. We can use a straight edge since we have one handy. Take a straight edge, put on your straight line and your straight line. Up, a little crooked. Let's go a little more. Okay. That's pretty straight. All right. Looking pretty straight. We're good to go. So now what we're going to do is look at the valve. So we're going to put our eyeballs on. We're going to look at the valve real nice and close. And we're going to see that the bottom edge of the valve is pretty well straight with the keeper. And the valve stem, it's kind of hard to see. Let's get it back a little bit for me. And that stem is going straight down. The other thing I'll do is I'll watch it. I'll take it all the way up and all the way down, and I'll watch where it starts on the valve and where it finishes. And if it's the same on both ends, it's good, okay? That's how you do it by eye. On an engine like this, you're probably fine. If you want to do it by eye, if you want to use a dial indicator and do cut to fit push rods on it, that's up to you. I can tell you this from experience, you're probably going to be just a little bit off when you cut those push rods the first time and press the ends in. You're going to think, oh yeah, I got it right. And you're going to put one on there, you're going to go, oh, it's just a hair off. Well, it's just going to be just as far off if you just left it just like that, probably. So that's why I do it this way, right? You kind of learn things over the years. I mean, I didn't do a lot of engines, guys. I was not the engine guy. I did body and paint, but I did about 10 or so engines back in the day. And, you know, now doing more of them, watching more of them, you know, stuff like that. Because, again, the engine guy used to build my engines. He's no longer doing it. So I'm doing it myself. And there's a lot of stuff I'm remembering that I forgot over the years too. So I'll be telling you guys those things as I learn them, because of course I'm still making my own mistakes, just like many of you are. So anyway, that's how we check the valve stuff by eye. If you want to check your cam stuff, maybe you want to see if the cam guy did his job right, you can put your dial indicator on there and check everything. But we're just not going to go there. It's not that important on this. We're looking for a torque engine. We're going to put the stock carburetor on this thing. It's going to be super torquey, and it's going to have some decent mid-range top-end power. But it's going to be, most of the power is going to be in the middle. And towards the bottom is going to be really strong. But it's going to have a nice freeway cruising speed. So that's what we're looking for on this. And that's why we chose the parts we did. Anyway. That's it for this, guys. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe. All right, guys. So anyway, we're going to finish the rest of this video, this engine, probably in the next one. And then we'll go ahead and put on the tin. We'll go ahead and get it running. And then we'll put it in the bus and then go for a drive. I don't know how this is all going to transpire. But anyway, we did get the bearing issue resolved. I don't know if you noticed, the engine turned over perfectly fine. The major part of the problem was definitely the bearing. There's always some variance between part manufacturers. So we were suspicious of the crankshaft, but it really probably wasn't that. Probably would have worked with the crankshaft that we had originally. So the AA cranks are fine. It's just the AA crank, and we tried a CB crank. The CB crank seemed to spin. It was just a different part. They're both made in China. So anyway, but so we were able to get it all fixed, and the engine's all together. So we're going to go ahead and finish this out by going ahead and doing I got to do the full flow, or I have to do the breather system and shape the tin on these aluminum cases. There's always a little bit of massaging to do. The AA stuff seems to be pretty close. I think it's already ready for these, but it's a little bit misshaped here, so I'm gonna have to kind of tune it up in here in the middle and fit it so it's not just gonna go bolt right on. Whenever you do an aluminum case engine, doesn't just bolt right together. So I gotta make sure this is clocked in the right thing. I think this is the right way. I can't recall, so I always have to look it up. But anyway, I'll get that on. I'll get all this stuff on. I have to get a distributor drive. I think I'm missing one of the washers. There's supposed to be 2, so I got to put those in. So little things like that. A little bit of a pause button right now, and then we'll get back on this. I've had a lot of difficulty kind of putting the editing together for this video. So anyway, now we're ready to move forward and get this up, and then we'll get on to the rest of the build. So hopefully that helps you guys. If you guys had an issue with bearings, if you do get another set, you know, the issue's been resolved, but nobody's admitting to that there was an issue. So there's bearings in circulation, and I don't know where they're at. Some of them were getting sent back, and so I don't know if they're going to redistribute those. We're hoping that they mark the boxes, so that if that happens, then we may have a video up on just where the marks are in the boxes. I was going to do that. I'm waiting for the boxes to get sent back, and then if we start seeing issues with bearings again, then it's only on the standard that we're aware of. And if you start seeing that again, watch out for the short on that. So anyway, because I'll get a box and it's got the mark on it, and I'll show you where the mark is because I think they're going to hide a mark somewhere. That's what I told them to do. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Talk to you next video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and see your comments.